first, we're in the beginning. What we're trying to find out is, what were your parents' names?
Well, my mother was Wilhelmina, and my father was Joseph Philip Ripley.
And
Your mother's name was Myers.
Myers.
Date of birth?
My date was August the 29th, 1917,
and where were you born?
Where are you?
Baltimore.
And what did your parents do for a living? What were their occupations? What was your dad's occupation?
He was at Fisk Rubber Tire Company. He was the general manager of it, and then he was transferred from Baltimore to Chicago. And then they wanted him to set up a company in New York. So that's when we moved to Forest Hills.
And you were like 7 years old when you moved to Forest Hills?
Yes.
Do you remember Forest Hills at all?
Oh, yes. Because I was there until I was
Did you live in a house there or in an apartment?
a house.
Okay,
Okay.
I have a question. Okay.
They didn't have many apartments in those days.
That's true. That's a good point.
How many children were in your family?
I
Where were
have-
you in the lineup?
I'm the oldest one, and I have 2 sisters.
Had.
Oh, no, I haven't any now. I'm the oldest one.
What were their names?
Anne married Jack Sink, and Jean married Charlie Spoor.
And then she married George Houck.
And then what?
She married George Houck.
Oh, yes, then George Houck.
I think you have to come. Generally speaking, what was your childhood like?
Well, I lived in Chicago, and the President Harding at that time had a mistress and a baby girl, and she was the same age as we were, and we used to play with the President Harding's illegitimate child.
Did you really? What was her name?
I've forgotten.
Yeah. That's good scandal.
Wow. Okay. Number 5.
So, other than playing with the illegitimate child of the president, what other memories do you have in your childhood? Is there anything
In
that's...
Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh, well, our apartment was, that was an apartment, wasn't a house in Chicago. An apartment, it was right on the beach, Lake Michigan. And I just remember being on the beach all the time.
Did you vacation in outside of Chicago on Lake
We'd
Michigan?
come to Baltimore for vacations.
Did you?
Yeah, mother's family was here.
Okay. Are there any particularly happy, funny, or sad lessons you learned while you were growing up? That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Okay. In Baltimore, when you got to Baltimore, you were what, like 15?
14 or 15.
And what neighborhood did you grow up in Baltimore?
Clover Hill Road,
Roland Park.
In Roland Park.
Roland Park.
And who were some of your friends when you got to Baltimore? Do you remember the friends that were in your neighborhood or that you went to school with?
Margaret Harper, Mary Colt Wilcox. There were a lot of them.
How did you get the information in the neighborhood? How did the information of the news flow? Did you get it from the newspaper or when you were growing up? Do you remember? Was there radio, television? What were you?
Oh, radio. They didn't have television in those days.
Do you remember the first television?
Yes.
How did you have it? Did you have it at your house?
First television we had at our house. Woody Gosnell gave it to Anne. It was the first television. Or he gave it to Mother and Daddy.
He gave it to Mother and Daddy.
So before that, you would listen to the radio, or did?
Oh, radio. Or what would you really listen to were your parents playing the piano. I mean, all parties, everybody'd get around the piano and dance and sing.
Okay. Okay. What was your first school's name?
First school, that would be in Chicago. I don't remember.
Or in Baltimore? What was the one?
In
That,
Baltimore, public school number 3 in Roland Park.
Oh,
You graduated.
From,
Where did you graduate?
from Girls Latin.
and Girls Latin was where, across the street from Morgan Millar's?
Yes.
Is that where you guys used to go and smoke?
Yes.
what are your earliest school day memories?
Earliest school memories? It,
Yeah, in Baltimore.
Oh, in Baltimore. Going to that window on the second floor of the school and smoking. The smoke would go out the window. And the school mistress would come principal would come up to our floor, and we didn't realize she could smell it downstairs. She was good though. She let us do it.
In Baltimore, are there any teachers or subjects you particularly liked or disliked?
Oh, what I liked was I can't remember her name now, but she was a sister of friends of mine.
What did she teach?
Oh, I guess English in those days and everything,
What was your favorite subject?
math and English.
When you got out of school, what did you want to do?
I wanted to be a model, and I was.
Were you?
Yeah,
Where did you model?
Hustlers.
Did you really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
So did I.
But you didn't know it?
Oh, I did know.
Yeah.
What did you learn in those first years of school that you would like to pass along to the next generation?
Don't get caught smoking.
But what?
Don't get caught smoking.
Don't get caught smoking. Let me see. I don't know. We just had a good time. Just liked everything about it. In Forest Hills, that was.
Were you involved in sports, music, drama, or other extracurricular activities?
We did all those things.
What sports did you play?
Tennis.
Basketball.
Oh, basketball. I was a good basketball player because I was tall.
Did you all play soccer then?
No.
No soccer. Badminton?
We played badminton.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
She said a model.
Oh, right, the model. What was your
Or an
first?
actress.
What was your first job and how did you get it?
Modeling.
How'd you
At
get?
Hutzler's.
How'd you get the job?
Just went there and they needed me because I was tall.
What was your first boss like? What did you learn from him or her?
My first boss, I don't remember having one. I was the boss.
Okay, hold on.
Did you leave, quit, get promoted, or get fired?
From jobs?
From the modeling job.
Oh, I just went on to something else.
What else?
Forever. We always went to Rehoboth. And then I went there after I was married. Remember?
Did all the kids go to Rehoboth with you?
Oh, yes.
Did you stay in a house down there or an apartment?
That apartment house, the Sussex. There were 3 apartments on each side. There were 6 apartments altogether. And it was all our family. All cousins and sisters who rented those apartments.
And it was blown away during the hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
What hurricane was that?
1960, 59, 60.
Okay. What do you recall about your first date?
My first date. Let me see. Can't remember. Oh, I know who my first date was. Jack Wise. And I liked him because he had the best car of all. He had a yellow convertible Chrysler.
That's why you liked him?
Yeah, I like that car.
How did you know you were really in love?
Because I couldn't find a better car.
Who was your first love?
That was Jack Wise.
Jack Wise?
He lived on 39th and Greenway. Everybody lived down there.
Okay, so tell us how Bill popped the question, or how was it popped, the question popped to you?
Bill Strudlin? Oh, do you really want to hear this?
Yeah, I want to hear, tell the real story.
about when you first met him.
Bill, everybody went to Sobel's on Greenmount Avenue. Everybody gathered there. And he came over to me. I'd never seen him before, but he was handsome. And he said, "Would you ever date a divorced man?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "This is September the 15th. This is June the 15th. I'll be divorced September the 15th." He had just put in for a divorce that day. He said, "I'll call you September the 15th." And he did. That's when we started going out.
Was that a scandal back then to be dating a divorced man?
Well, yes. I mean, he wouldn't ask anybody for a date when he was getting a divorce.
Did people think differently of you for dating a man that was divorced?
Oh, no.
That was
Because
all right.
he was divorced. That's okay.
Right. Okay.
Can't date them if they're not divorced.
So tell us about your wedding, and what year were you married?
I was married Bill and I were married in 1940. Is it 40? 1940.
And how about the wedding ceremony? Where was the wedding ceremony?
We were married at my aunt's house, Aunt Isabel. It wasn't Aunt Isabel, it was wasn't Aunt Isabel.
Aunt Grace, Aunt Betty.
Genevieve, Aunt Genevieve's house.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
And how many people were roughly? How many people came to your wedding?
Well, we have a big family, so it was all family and a few other people.
So tell us about your honeymoon.
Oh, I can't.
Yes, you can.
I can't.
No, Mom, no. Not what you're going to say. Just say where you went.
Oh, we went to Virginia Beach.
I can fill in the details later.
You can?
Yeah, you told me that story. So tell me about starting your family.
About what?
About starting your family. So
Oh.
when did you have Annie was first, right?
No.
I'm joking. I'm kidding.
Say it when Annie's here.
Well, I can't tell you.
Well, you were married in August 31st, and you had your first child a year later, August 18th.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And
I could say some things, but I can't.
No.
What was it like? Do you remember the first time you found out you were pregnant? Do you remember?
Oh, I remember I wanted to get pregnant. I couldn't imagine why it was taking me 3 months to get pregnant. I couldn't imagine.
Okay, so All right, so in the war, when World War II started, you would have been just about the time when you were getting married.
And everybody said, you can't get married. You can't get married. There's going to be a war.
And do you remember when Bill was called to service?
He volunteered because he said he did not want to be in the Army. He wanted to be in the Navy. He liked boats and water. And so he volunteered.
And how long was he gone? Do you remember different tours that he went on, or was
several years.
And during that time, do you remember getting correspondence from him while he was away?
Oh, yes.
And how would that come through the mail?
Yeah.
Letters? Do you have any of those old letters?
I do have some. Where are they?
And do you remember where he went when he was in the war?
He was
Philippines.
the Philippines, yeah, but on he was in the Pacific, all over the Pacific.
And when he got back, was he changed as a person?
Completely changed.
In what ways?
Well, before he went, he always liked to go every place. When he came back, he said, I am never ever going to leave my home again. And he said, I know you want to see the world, so you may go, but I'm not. And so that was very good of him. And so all my friends, whenever they wanted to go anyplace, they'd call me, and I would go.
So during the wartime, was there rations on?
Oh, yes.
Like fuel or chocolate, food?
Some foods, yes. They were rationed, yeah.
And how would you find things if you needed them, like chocolate? How would you get your fix?
I don't remember, but I know I had chocolate.
What about film?
Oh, and film, you couldn't have film?
Couldn't buy it.
No. No. I guess stores like, what was the big store where they took pictures of weddings and
Oh, Backrack?
Backrack, and all of them, they couldn't take pictures.
Okay.
Everybody went to
Yes.
Okay,
Right
so
over.
we're going to talk about travel and leisure. So what was the most memorable family vacation or trip that you can recall?
Our trip to Africa, because it was the whole family. Everybody went. And it was Betty Leslie Melville, her house,
Mm-hmm.
and she went to school with
Giraffe Manor.
Giraffe Manor. And I went to school with her. And so when she married and moved to Africa, she said for me to come anytime I wanted. I could stay at Giraffe Manor. So I did, with my whole family.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Where else did you travel before that, without the family, or with your family when you were growing up?
Let me see. Well, my grandparents lived in Massachusetts, Wayland Park, Massachusetts. So we went there every summer to visit my father's parents.
Did you ever go to Florida?
Oh yes, we went to Daytona Beach. I was there when the race driver, what's his name? They raced on the beach. What was his name? Who won the speeding?
I could find out.
I
know what
know
you're
it.
talking.
I know it very well. I'll think of it in a minute.
Did you go fishing there?
Fishing, everybody else did. I didn't.
Okay.
Sailfish. Where did you catch sailfish?
Oh wait, where did I get that sailfish?
So,
That was in Florida.